All right, Scott, how's it going? Let's talk about what to do, how to break down that Glock 19 Gen 5. If this isn't Scott, that means we've decided to put this on YouTube or some other social media. So, hi, stranger, how's it going? We're using the Glock 19 Gen 5 today, but understand that all Glocks disassemble and clean pretty much the exact same. So, if you're looking at this gun going, oh, mine doesn't have a red dot or mine doesn't have those kind of sights on it, it's all good. Everything we're going to talk about today works the exact same. So, the very first thing we need to settle up is safety. We got to get all the ammunition out of this gun and get it out of the room altogether. So we're going to reach our thumb forward to this magazine release button. You really got to push the Glock magazine releases towards the front of the button and not the back in order to get it to come out. And we're going to remove that. That's empty. Set it off to the side. Then we're going to rack multiple times, lock it open, look into the chamber. Let's zoom in on how to lock that slide to the rear for all of you non-Scots out there. Scott, I know you know how to do this, but again, for posterity's sake, if you are not familiar with how to lock this slide to the rear, basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to get this little lever up into that little notch right there. And the easiest way to do that is to put upwards pressure with our thumb. Look at how little that moves right now, but that pressure is enough as long as I maintain upwards pressure and my grip stays high on the back, right? If I start doing this down low, as soon as I go to pull the slide, it's going to rock the whole gun. So up high, reach my thumb around as much as I need to get that leverage, push up, and I keep pushing up until I am done pulling that slide to the rear, and it will jump itself up into that notch, right? Now, I'm going to pull this in a weird way so that you can see a little bit easier what's happening on the firearm, right? So push up and push back. And as soon as that opening crosses over that slide stop, it jumps its way up in there. That's all that's happening. That's all you got to do. So push up, hold up, grab the slide, make an X with your hands. Push in opposite directions. It'll notch itself up just like that. All right? When we're looking into that chamber, we want to also physically stick a finger down in there. Make sure we don't feel any rounds in there. Okay? So you've checked it's clear and empty. Go ahead and send your slide forward, whether you prefer to pull the slide and release it to send it forward, or whether you just hit the lever right there. It all gets the job done. Now, we got to take the slide off of the frame. And with the Glock, this does require us to press the trigger, which is why checking that that chamber is in fact completely empty is so daggone important. So what we're going to do is we're going to point the gun in a safe direction, and we are going to press the trigger. Okay, now it's time to use our takedown levers, one on this side and one on that side, and we're going to pull them down in unison to allow this gun to come off. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to take a shooting hand grip, and we're going to bring the four fingers, our trigger finger, middle, ring, and pinky, and we're going to bring them up over top. This is even easier if you don't have a daggone red dot sight on this thing. But it's going to look like that. And look at how little I'm pulling this back. Barely at all, right? Because if I pull it back too far, I'm going to rearm the striker. I'm going to recock that trigger, and then it's not going to disassemble properly. So in a safe direction, once again, I'm going to press the trigger to deactivate that trigger. I'm going to go from my shooting hand grip up to my four fingers on top. I'm going to pull back ever so slightly, and I'm going to pull down simultaneously on this tab and its corresponding tab on the other side with two fingers, like so. And I'm going to pull straight down, and I'm going to keep them held down as I let the slide pass over top, which is going to allow me to remove the slide. Let's take a look at real quick what's happening there when we do that, because when you're pulling these pull tabs down, the biggest thing you're going to run into is that you're not clamping in hard enough and pulling down simultaneously enough. What that's allowing to happen is you are actually pulling down this little locking gate right here, okay? And if you pull one side down and not the other, it gets stuck in the up position and it won't work for you. So once you get this gun apart for the first time, take some time and practice pulling both of those down so that you actually let that gate come fully down so that the slide can pass over top. So that's your frame. You're done with that for now. Set it to the side. Let's tackle this slide. Your slide's made up of 3 different parts. Well, a boatload of different parts, but for our concerns, it's 3. We've got the slide itself, the metal frame. We have the guide rod with the recoil spring inside. And then, once we compress and we lift that out, we have the barrel itself. The barrel, all you need to do is lift slightly, pull it towards you, and then lift it up and out, right? From the side, pretty simple. Up, forward, lift it up and out. Now, you got your main parts. This is a field stripped Glock 19. Let's talk about the kit you need, because for basic maintenance, honestly, you don't need that much. This is why we put together the CFI cleaning packs. I like to use a bore snake, or you can have one of those detachable rods with all the different attachments on them. But for basic, everyday maintenance field strip cleaning, I love a bore snake. You need some kind of cleaning solution. I use a CLP right here. I love to have a brush, right? Preferably a brush with a nylon side and then a brass side. If you are maintaining your gun enough, you shouldn't need the heavy duty brass side to get on any caked on carbon, but you never know. And then some sort of gun oil, right? Microfiber cloths, always. That's all we're using. So it is as simple as that, especially for your basic maintenance. Every couple few hundred rounds, take this thing down. Let's start with the slide. Okay, so first thing we're going to do, take that nylon brush and brush every surface that we've got on here. Okay, just doing a dry brush. We're trying to get any loose crud off all the interior here. And I'm not going to make you sit through all doing that. Everybody knows how to use a brush. There's nothing on here you cannot brush. So get after it, as long as you're using that nylon side. We're going to do the same thing for the barrel. And with the barrel, you want to pay close attention to the feed ramp right here, because that is where the round gets stripped out of the magazine, hits it, and then slides up in there. If that starts really getting kicked up like crazy, you are going to run into some issues eventually. So give that guy a good brush. Same thing with your guide rod and recoil spring. If you got any obvious buildup here, this barely needs anything at all. So we're going to leave that guy there. For your frame, again, we're talking basic maintenance here. So we're going to give a dry brush to all of our exposed surfaces here as well. You don't need to be dainty with this thing, but don't crank on it like you're trying to break pieces off the top. Just get all your loose carbon, all your loose powder, anything on there as you go. I'll be honest with you, half the time this is about the extent of what I do. I put a little bit of oil on it and I'm good to go. Because all we're going to do after we dry brush is we're going to take our rag and we're going to wipe all those surfaces. And you will be astonished at how much stuff you get off if this is a well-maintained gun with just a dry brush and a basic wipe. And look at all that stuff coming off already. And it's looking pretty darn dandy as is. We're not going to leave it at that. I'm going to give you the whole once through, but we're going to do a basic dry brush of everything that we just, or a dry wipe rather, of everything that we just dry brushed off, right? On the outside, getting that feed ramp, making sure, okay, outside of our guide rod and our recoil spring, and then all the little nooks and crannies we can reach with that rag on the frame. We're not going to talk about cleaning the magazine today, but yes, magazines are consumable. They will eventually die and they do get dirty. We're going to talk about later how to pop this out, clean your component parts. But for right now, let's talk about where we're going to oil this thing. So that's some of this AIM oil. Love the needle nose applicator. Hoppies makes them. They're all just great. Get something with a needle nose. Makes life easier. Where are we going to put oil on this thing? Well, the gun will start to tell you where you're going to put oil, because it's going to start showing wear marks where metal on metal is moving, and that's where we want to reduce friction. So a little bit, that's way too much, on the underside of that slide, and a little bit along the rails, along the inside, because that's where the frame connects to the slide, right? So less is more. A little one drop there, a little one drop there, okay? Go through with my rag light brush, a little bit on the opening. We're good to go on the slide. For the frame, okay? I'm going to go a little bit on the wing here, a little bit on that wing there, because those are the metal wings that connect my Glock up into my slide. I'm going to touch a little bit over here, a little bit, and we are looking fine and dandy so far. Now, for the barrel, my basic maintenance, again, had a heavy day on the range. I want to keep things running well. I'm going to take my bore snake out, take my barrel, always work in the direction that the bullet's going to travel, so I'm going to drop the weighted side of my bore snake down the back, out the front, grab it, wind it around, and this has bristle brushes, and it's got a big fat cord behind it that's going to loosen up front and then pull the debris out from the rear and just give that once or two through. Now, the outside of my barrel needs oiling. Like I said, it's going to tell me a story, right? This is where the metal on metal is happening. So this is where I want to make sure I reduce the friction to keep the movement of the gun working how I want it to. So a little bit of oil. 1 drop, 2 drops. All done. That's it. right? You want to leave a sheen behind on this thing, but you don't want to leave it soaking wet. I see far more guns over-oiled than under-oiled out on the range. And if you leave too much liquid behind, this will start to act as a magnet for all that carbon and crud and create a nice, fun sludge that will slow your gun down. Just had a Canic out here the other day, would not extract rounds out of the chamber until we wiped off some of the excess oil that was left behind, right? Now we've done a basic breakdown, a basic brush, cleaning, and oiling. So let's put it back together. We're going to take our slide in our left hand, or our non-dominant hand. We're going to take the barrel with the little pointy parts of the lugs facing up, and we are going to drop it back in and then let it slide through that bottom opening right there. Okay, that never requires force, never requires brute force. If that thing gets stuck halfway down, the last thing I want you doing is trying to crank on it and force it, right? Just back it out. It should glide so easily back into place, just like so. Your recoil spring, you're going to take the fat end, forcing it towards yourself, and it's going to go in this other opening right here. And then we are going to compress it down until it sits in the notch of the barrel. It shouldn't easily freely move and should be roughly parallel to the slide. Then, to put it back together, we are going to take these wings and we are going to guide them into these crevices right here. As you put the slide back on the frame, much like with a barrel, it does not take brute force, it takes proper alignment. If it gets stuck halfway back, do not try to punch it through like you're going to Hulk through a wall. Back it off, realign, and give it a little bit of a twist and jiggle as you come back. Once we get back to this position, the gun's now back together. In a safe direction, test your trigger. Okay. And you are now good to go, my friend. Basic breakdown, a little maintenance brush clean and oiling for a Glock 19. You can use it for your 17, your 48, your 43, your 47, and whatever else they decide to come up with next. All right, man. Have fun with it.